Hello and thank you for joining me, your host Eve, my co-host Claire, and my producer Uzma for another episode of Poopology. So this week we have a bunch of special guests who are all going to be talking about the different generations that they're under and what that means and our differences. Introduce yourselves.
I am Junaid. I just recently finished my Masters in Architecture, which is a 7-year-long ordeal. And yeah, I don't know how else to summarise myself.
Well done, Junaid. Well done. We're proud of you.
I'm Luca. I finished my 3 years in architecture 2 years ago, and now I work at Stanton Williams, and I'm from Italy, and I moved here 5 years ago.
Not from Italy or anywhere exotic. Although my name was inspired by Italy. I'm Talia, and I'm currently a Google apprentice.
And I'm Brooke, and I'm also a Google apprentice.
Okay, so we're going to start with our poopy moments of the week. Now, what's happened with poopy moments, I think we're actually going to just slightly change it to just poopy moments, because I've realised with the amount of episodes we've done, I mean, either I'm just not that exciting anymore, that I don't actually have a poopy moment every week, or that I'm just running out of material, basically. So some of my poopy moments are like 15 years old, you know.
So some stale poop.
Vintage.
Some stale, vintage, juicy poop. Instead of the week, we're just going to be poopy moments from now on. So who wants to go first with their poopy moments? Who's feeling brave? Come on.
Okay.
You tell me you had a good one.
Well, I hope so anyway.
Pressure.
So we started working at Google back in last October, and it was nearly Halloween when we'd started. So I think we'd been there for about 2 weeks, was it? Till Halloween. Being an American company, I thought they're going to go all out on Halloween. I love Halloween. I prefer it to Christmas, so I'm going all out. Okay, on the tube and everything, all the dark makeup, the ripped up witches' clothes, red contact lenses. I sprayed a bit in my hair, and I came into the office and no one was dressed up. And I think I had about 4 meetings that day, meeting new people, and I couldn't get my contact lenses out. So I just had to go to these meetings with dark makeup and looked a bit scary and just tried to pull it off like I was really cool.
Just one of the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's me.
This is just my style, my fashion style.
That's like one of those moments where your heart just drops
Yeah.
down. You're thinking,
Tried to pull it off like I was really trendy, but it didn't catch on, let's say that.
Did it feel like the opposite when you go to school on a mufti day, but you forget it's mufti day?
It was
and you're the only person in
literally like
uniform, and you stand out.
So my friend and I went on holiday. It was just in the UK for about a week or so. And I'm really into arts. My friend was like, we're just walking past an art store. She was like, do you want to go inside? I was like, yeah, I'd love to. Managed to get halfway around before the sales assistant comes and approaches you. And usually I'm like, no, thanks, I'm just looking. It's okay. I was on holiday. I was a bit more chatty. I was just like, oh, can you tell me a bit more about this piece? Like, where is it? Is it local? Whatever. Anyway, we start chatting and... well, I think it was Emma and I were looking at this piece, both of us, and she starts bringing up these kind of references to us being a couple, like, oh, so we've got loads of these plans, like payment plans, and as a couple you could do this, and I'm kind of thinking, hang on, like Emma and I look at each other like, is she just telling us this for fun information, or is this just, she's being a bit... Anyway, I carry on looking, and Emma moves around halfway through the store, and the sales assistant goes with her. And I can see out the corner of my eye that she's been looking at this one piece for, like, a fair while. And she steps a bit closer as well. She's probably looking at it. And then I just hear her and the sales assistant. Sales assistant's like, oh, you seem to quite like that one. She's like, yeah, I quite like it. It kind of calms me. She goes, Talia, like, why do you think, like, why is this kind of, like, brown and pinky? And she's probably expecting me to say something like, oh, you see, like, it's the symbiosis of the browns or, like, whatever. Anyway, I go over to look at what she's looking at, and I smile at her, like kind of like this, like eyes slightly closed, kind of like, are you taking the pee here? Like, she's like, no, I really like this piece, and she's getting really close, but she's like, I don't quite understand it. It's like, it's a peace sign, right? So it's basically a load of Polaroid pictures lined up, and each one is like a shade of brown or a shade of pink. Looking at her like, Emma, they're a pair of boobs. And she's like been looking at this piece for about 3-4 minutes. Like, sales assistant already thinks we're a couple. But I just couldn't stop laughing. So I was like, well, now the sales assistant is probably thinking, I was so right. I was so right.
I guess that I've got a poopy moment of the week. Is that I just was ill on Monday. So I was like, well, that's not great, especially in summer. Because the weather is awesome, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay at home, and then I'm gonna have so much time because everyone is at work, and I'm gonna organize my laptop, and then I'm gonna go in the garden and chill and read a book. And instead, I just fell asleep on the couch. And I'm like,
how is that poopy, Luca? That sounds like a great way of
Good day off.
because then you wake up and the day's gone. It's like, I mean, it's great that you didn't go to work, but you didn't do anything with the day. It's just disappeared.
Did you at least binge Netflix?
No. It's like I didn't. Oh,
Do you feel better now for the load of sleep? Or is it just that's nothing?
Yeah, no, I think that helped a lot.
Okay.
But like,
Mine might be less funny now.
They're all hilarious in their own way.
the bar is.
So I was driving one late night coming home, and I was on a bit of sort of semi-long journey, you could say, and I could hear my car making really odd sounds from the front. It was like lots of banging happening, so I was thinking, okay, this sounds a bit worrying. So I called my brother. I was a little bit panicky because this is like the first year of driving. I have no idea what's going on, and he can hear this bang, bang, bang. He goes, maybe you should see if there's like a ball or something stuck into your car. So I thought, okay. So I pull up, everything's absolutely clear under the car, and I get back in the car and I start driving, and he's like, has anything changed? And I said, no. And then all of a sudden, all I hear is sort of a loud bang. And I'm like, oh, shit. And he's like, what? I said, my wheel is in front of me. He was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. I was like, my wheel is rolling in front of me. Like, I can see it bouncing down a hill. And I'm coming sort of semi-downhill. And the whole car just sort of pushed the brakes, and I come to a standstill, and he was like, I don't understand what you're trying to explain to me. So I got out of the car and I looked, and my entire wheel had come off. Entire thing had come off the brake caliper. I don't know the mechanics of it.
How does that even happen?
And I was just like, this is a whole new experience. And this is literally the first 6 months of driving, and I managed to total a car by taking its full wheel off.
Oh
But did you actually take it off, or was there...
Well, no. So what happened is, because I had bought a new car, my uncle is a mechanic, or a friend of my dad's is a mechanic, and he said, I'll treat you to a new set of wheels. And I thought, great. So he put on super large wheels.
That uncle is no longer an uncle,
know.
is he?
This was serious. So, he put on a new set of wheels, slightly bigger than what the car could handle. It was like a 1 litre Corsa, 3 doors, looks like a little bug.
Oh, I had that. It's a lovely car.
It's a good car, right?
Yeah.
It's a good car.
Wheels roll off too?
No, I do have decent wheels.
So apparently what happened is when he fit the wheels, they were too big for the car, so they were none of them were ever actually on. So any four of them could come off at any
Imagine
time.
if all of them just came off.
The worst thing is, it's like a £500 fine on the spot if the police catch you with this sort of thing. The police came by.
Per wheel?
I don't know. I hope not. They came by, took out some chevrons and cones and said, we're calling you off. Just call someone to come and rescue you. And I was like, okay. So I waited for 4 hours for my dad to come with a recovery vehicle and AA or whatever it was. And now I'm known as the guy who loses a wheel on his car in my family.
God.
But none of your friends want to get in your car now, do they?
No.
Yeah,
You are not the
kind of
chauffeur of
works
your
to the
group.
plus side, yeah, because I have to be chauffeur. But that was a poopy night.
That's a
I think I
proper poopy
actually
moment.
got shit on my foot afterwards because it was so dark where I
For the
was.
cow pad, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a bit of a
There was
that was an
literal
ordeal.
poop involved in that, in that one.
All right, so my poopy moment is from a while ago, and it's my eldest boy. He is now 8, but when he first started school, so when he was 4 and a bit, he was first at school, and his first week he came home with this certificate saying Pupil of the Week, and he did this amazing job. So I was going to take a photograph, and he was standing there as proud as punch with his little certificate. My middle son came along, and he was stood next to him, and he wanted to get his photo taken as well. And at the time he had this little bit of an issue with picking his nose. But he, instead of using one finger, he used 2.
Oh my God.
So
On the same hand, or like
one
one
on each. One finger per nostril. So as I was taking this photo of Harrison, who was so proud that he'd got this Pupil of the Week certificate, standing right next to him was his younger brother with 2 fingers right up his nose. And I hadn't noticed, and I took the photo thinking, oh, that's lovely. I went to post it on Facebook and went, oh, for God's sake. So I think I posted, well done to my 2 sons, Harrison for Pupil of the Week and Fletcher for multitasking.
You sent it to your mum and dad.
I
You're
put
like,
it on Facebook.
look at the kids.
Oh,
Okay, so my poopy moment, I would say maybe about 12 years ago. See, this is what I mean about some ancient, well-brewed poopy moments. I I was in politics. And because I was in politics and I'm Turkish, and there's quite a big Turkish community here in the UK, I was invited to meet the ambassador, the Turkish ambassador, as well as some MPs, Turkish MPs that had come from Turkey to visit. And one of the reasons they wanted me to meet them, not just the fact that I was in politics and Turkish and here and all that kind of stuff, but also I used to organise a festival called Turkish Fest back then. And they wanted me to sort of talk about that and how we were kind of doing all these cultural things and introducing our culture here in the UK and all that kind of stuff. So I'm in this very serious meeting, with my suit on, my serious face.
I'm really excited about this.
Really. And
Completely.
I'm having, in Turkish, I'm trying to explain the festival and what we do. And whenever I go to sort of explain the area in which we do it, which basically was this big kind of green parky space, all I can think about is the word like football pitch. And I can't quite translate it in my head. And the funny thing is I speak Turkish really well, so I speak it almost better than English. So they would never have guessed that I can't, some words are just not coming to me. And I thought, it's okay, there's so many Turkish people here, they like throw in an English word here and there and, everyone understands. So I just said, we do it on a pitch. Okay, so the first part was Turkish, we do it, and then the last part was pitch in English. And I basically, said we do it on a pitch, we put up the tents in the pitch, and then we have a screen and a stage, and people sing and dance and whatever. And I could see that people were giving me weird looks, and I was thinking, what am I saying wrong? And one of the second consulates was quite a good friend of mine by that stage. So he kept kind of making hand gestures and scratching his nose, and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm even more aggressively saying, and the pitch is huge, and all this kind of stuff.
What does
So if I now go back and translate the whole thing into just English, okay? Basically, I was saying the arsehole is huge. We have tents on the arsehole.
Beautiful.
We play music. We promote our culture all on this ginormous arsehole. Next to the River Thames.
And we've had 5-star reviews, no complaints.
So, yeah, you get the gist. So I probably I would say I'm possibly the only Turkish person ever to sit in a room with an ambassador and several MPs of government and actually say arsehole, 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 arsehole about 50 times and not get kicked out.
But not only just say arsehole, say we're going to celebrate our culture in an arsehole.
Did they have any comments back? Did they say anything?
No, because they realised they realised that I was obviously having trouble translating a couple of the words that I was trying to get out, and I think they just, smiled and just took it and tried to keep serious as much as possible and talk about the subject. They were very kind, actually, because if it was me, I'd be like, I wouldn't have been able to stay that poised if someone was just sitting there saying, arsehole, arsehole, arsehole. So there you go, that's my poopy moment of the week.
That's a good one.
Well, I thought it was fitting with the whole communication issues that we are about to discuss. We've got a couple of different generations here in the room. So I looked up actually which generation falls into which date period.
Oh my god, same. I was like, I need to come prepared.
So I'm going to read out the generations, and then I guess you're going to have to, figure out which ones you fall into. But I
Do we
think
cheer when we hear our one? Is it that sort of
you can
situation?
do that. You can do that. Wave a flag, throw stuff, whatever you want.
Make some noise.
So Generation Z is apparently 1997 to 2015.
Woo!
Also known as I Generation. Generation Y, also known as Millennials, are 1980 to 1996.
Just about.
Wait.
Which
Yeah.
I think is you guys.
Cool.
Yeah. And then Generation X, 1965 to 79. which is also known as the MTV generation, I think is us.
Such a cool name,
so.
MTV generation.
Yeah. And then there's obviously the baby bloomers, but we don't have any of those in this room. Yeah.
So I looked it up the other day, and I think it is Gen Alpha.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Generation
Alpha.
Oh,
in the
really?
corner. Shout out to Gen Alpha.
When does that start? Sorry.
It's 2015.
Wait.
Yes.
So
And when
the
I
one
After
the one
you
after
guys.
you
Yeah, I
guys.
think
Yeah,
Generation
it's-
Alpha starts like 2005.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
oh,
So
they're
they're
apparently Z as
That's
well.
Yeah,
Gen.
they just fall into the Zers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because my
can't be
kids
born
are
in
Gen.
20.
My kids are Alpha.
So that's kind of
Oh.
weird, though, no? You guys are in the same
But
generation.
you either end.
Yeah, I guess so. So anyway, so those are the four main ones. 3 of them are in this room. So we're basically going to talk about our generational differences. I mean, I'm pretty much like a grumpy old woman when it comes to this subject, because obviously I have a number of juniors, or otherwise known as minions, in the office, and I have had over the years, and I'm always sort of doing what my mum used to do, I guess, like, in my days we used to do this. So there is definitely some differences there. But I also just wanted to read out some other stuff that I found out about supposedly the different traits that we have. So you guys in that corner, the millennials or Gen Y, and Uzma are over here. So you're apparently tech savvy.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're apparently collaborative.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
And you're focused on the greater good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I agree with that.
You are highly vocal.
I don't think that's my gender.
Maybe not us 3.
So apparently that's what you guys are. And Gen Z over there, you guys are critical and selective.
I'm pretty
Picky?
picky. Yeah.
You're digital natives,
Yep.
obviously. Self-taught,
Practically, yeah.
digitally fluent, and apparently you're very practical.
Woo.
Go on.
Not a bad rep. Yeah, I'll take that.
So you're happy with that?
I'll put it on my CV.
Now,
About the old-
there's us two. It says you're grey. No, I'm joking. So we're apparently open-minded regarding diversity.
Mm-hmm.
We're world citizens.
Nice.
We're competitive,
Yeah.
independent,
Mm-hmm.
innovative, and strong communicators.
Wow. You know, I think our list is the best.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say.
I wonder if our generation wrote this.
Yeah. Oh, probably.
I mean, I wrote this earlier.
Is it
Bias
based
list.
off your generation at the age you're at, or is it your generation at, say, when you're 20?
It's based off when you start working and when you sort of...
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically judged by the same point, just like...
Yeah, when you're an adult, I guess.
Yeah, when you become into adulthood and all of that kind
Do you hear
of
that? We're adults.
stuff. I still don't feel like an adult. It's fine.
Okay, brilliant.
So I feel like Gen Z are the most outspoken, maybe.
I would have said diversity fell under Gen Z as well, because we're obviously going that way.
It's just more apparent now.
Yeah.
Unless
don't
you
know.
are more diverse than as in like you're more aware of diversity and more welcoming of diversity compared to baby boomers.
We probably are. That probably
Yeah.
is what it
Yeah.
refers to. Is compared to the people above us or
We should have
below
got
us.
we should have got a total oldie to come in, shouldn't we? And
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many seats in the room.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's only so much space I felt for grumpy people, and
Yeah.
you and I do a good representation of that. I'm not sure that we need any more grumps in the room. So, my pet peeve, okay, in terms of both of your generations, actually, that I have found, and this is a working pet peeve, is I have had to teach everyone who has worked here, who's in your age group and your generation group, how to use a phone. To actually phone people. You are all allergic to phoning people.
I 100% agree.
It's
I
like
don't
you would
agree.
rather email, text, send a pigeon, anything really. It's like you were scared to pick up the phone and have a conversation.
I can
So-
quicker type. That's not even the right word. I can type. I can type more. Oh, I can't word that. I can type more quicker than I can talk.
You're more efficient typing.
Thank you. There you go. That's exactly what she said.
Text it to me. I got the email.
You might be correct in that. However, if you pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hi, I need this. Can you send it to me?" I can give you an answer right now and say, "Yes, I can," or "This is what this is." If you ask me a question, how do I do this? I can say, "Why don't you press this button and put it over here?" Whereas if you send me an email, you have to wait for me to read that email. I mean, currently I have 859 unread emails in my inbox because I'm an extremely busy person. So you have to wait for me to read that email and then wait for me to type a response back to you. Sometimes I read the email and I don't even type the response back just yet because I think, it's only Luca, can't be bothered to write back to him right now. There's someone else over here who's more important. Whereas if he'd called me, I would have just given him an answer to his question on the spot. I wouldn't say, "Hi Luca, it's only you. Sorry, I'm going to put the phone down to you now. Call me later." So,
I worked with Eve a few years ago. So my first experience on the phone or like a professional environment was most likely with you. And I remember thinking that it was a bit daunting because the person on the other end of the phone is going to be much older than you, much more experienced, and you're the young person having to talk to them. So I felt like there was always this sort of invisible formality, perhaps, that we had to try and get used to. And I think once you break that barrier, then it becomes easier.
Don't always be fooled by the older person perhaps being more knowledgeable than you.
Well, I've learned that as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. But also, it kind of depends on why you're calling them. So, the tasks you would have been given to call someone would have been to probably find something out. So the point is, you're not calling them to give them a lesson on something. You're calling them to actually ask them a question. So, and they know that they are the person to answer that question. So there's nothing to fear. If I called them up, I would also be asking a question. I wouldn't be telling them, this is how we're going to do the phone lines. I would be asking them, like, how are we going to put these phone lines in? So, but I found out later, actually, from third-party sources, that it took you a while to make your first phone call. And I found out that for the first couple of weeks, you went downstairs, left the building to make phone calls. And I remember thinking, because he was sitting right next to me, I'm sure I asked him to call this person like 2 hours ago. So then I'd be like, "Junaid, have you called, whoever, Claire?" And he would say, "Yes, I did." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so what did she say?" And he'd give me an answer, and I'd think, "Okay, fine." And then next day again, I'm like, "Can you call this person, that person?" "Yes, yes, yes." And a few hours would go past, and I'm like, "Junaid, have you called these people?" "Yes, I have." And the whole time I was thinking, I'm sure he's lying to me because he's sitting next to me and I can't hear him talking on the phone. So you were actually running out of the building to make work phone calls. Yeah. I've never, heard of anything so weird in my life. Why is that?
It was a, I don't know, actually. It's a good question.
No, see, I actually resonate with that because I disagree with the initial statement of our generation are afraid of the phone, or from my personal experience, because I'd much rather someone call me or I call them because I'm really bad at texting and messaging. Like I can take a month to reply to someone in like a social capacity, like a good friend. Like I'm really bad with that kind of thing. But one part of my job that I absolutely love is that I call customers, and I do about 9 calls a week. And I absolutely love it. I love calling people, but I have a desk phone, and I've not used it. I'd much rather book a room and have a private conversation because I feel I'm distracting the people around me. And that's more the reason for me, or I feel that other people are listening in, and then I feel like, oh, maybe I'm not doing this right. And as you just come into work, I've just come into work, you don't want that pressure as you're speaking to a customer or start having distractions, whatever. So maybe that's what you had.
No, definitely, especially when you're having difficult conversations, because I had to speak to a lot of difficult people over the phone. And a lot of conversations would end up in heated debate, you could say. So I much rather preferred having it alone, where I could sort of speak my will and not interrupt everyone else in the office.
So what changed? Because I remember the first time you had a go at someone from Thames Water on the phone sitting next to me, and I think there was a unanimous clap in the office from everyone.
It was like, well done, you can have a cigarette break now, enjoy it. You just partially get used to it. And once you've broken that barrier a few times, and I think it's just comfort. Once you become comfortable and you feel at ease on the phone, and you can just talk to anyone the way you have to talk to them, you just have to get the job done, because at the end of the day it is just your job. then you know that the priority is
But
there.
that's what's strange about it, because I'm pretty sure when I started my first job, I was already, having to call people up even as a younger person to resolve things like pay my phone bill, for example, or, do something else. When I was at university, pay my electricity bill, or something would get shut down and I'd have to call up to, get someone to put it back online. Because now so many things are online, or you can email them, or you can... Actually, some people don't even have phone numbers anymore. You go on someone's website, look for a phone number. There's no actual phone number.
It's live chat.
I think you're actually probably, until you get to a working age and you're in an office, you may not have been required to call anyone for any, any serious reason, other than your friends, but, for any work-related or fixing your life-related things. We used to just call the bank. There's no online banking. So I would call the bank to find out, if I couldn't get to a cash point, I would have to call the bank to say how much money do I have in my account before I went out and bought pizza at university.
How insane is that?
But I get frustration. I do find it really annoying now, because everything is so chat-based and text-based on the internet. If you need to speak to somebody and it's a bit urgent or whatever it is, you're always referred to a bot or a chat or a desk of some sort. There's never a phone number that you can contact. And I find that personally really frustrating now as well.
I mean, my first job, I was a receptionist, so I had to answer the phone. Serious issues.
Take it outside.
Hold on, let me just take the creative. And back then, they were massive things as well. So, could you imagine me taking it? Just put it on a trolley and wheel it out.
Just your whole desk is outside.
You'd be the only receptionist where you meet you before you get inside the office.
outside the building.
In the car park.
I remember, because obviously it's a great big handset, but when I first started there, it was nerve-wracking answering the phone because I didn't know who was the right department to put people through to and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I think how old was I, 23 or something like that. One of the things I made sure that I did was understand how to pronounce everybody's names that was slightly difficult. Because I thought, I want to make sure that I get that right. And there was one chap who worked in the sales team, and his last name, I went and asked him, and he said, that's pronounced Van Hytherson. I was like, fantastic, not a problem. And someone phoned up and asked for Van Hytherson, and I said, not a problem, Van Hytherson, I will put you through. That was his brother. So I corrected a man on how to pronounce his own name. That was pretty embarrassing.
But it's funny you say that, because I change my surname as well, depending on who I'm speaking to, because it's just easier to pronounce in different sort of accents and different ways.
I mean, I think the first time Uzma came to work for me, she was convinced she couldn't understand anything anyone said over the phone.
That was the reason I didn't like speaking on the phone, because I really struggled to understand people. Or, well, I did. I don't know if it's accent. I don't think it's even accents. It's just me. Because when I had my first ever work experience, they did a test for answering the phones for me. And I actually failed the test that I did not have to answer the phones for my whole time during my work experience. Someone in the office called the office and asks for someone. I asked them to repeat the person's name 4 times. And then I was like, okay, all right. They're not available. Goodbye. And I put the phone down. And then the lady that was testing me was like, okay, so who did they ask for? And I was like, I have no clue. I don't know what they said. I panicked and I just put the phone down. And since then, it's just scarred me. But I think I'm fine. In the last year and a half, I think it took me a while when I first started this job, but in the last year and a half, I do actually prefer picking up the phone and speaking to people.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely good now, but when she first came, she was convinced that she just would not understand people. So she was like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. I'm like, why? You would get an answer so much faster than, waiting around for someone to email you back. And she said, what if I don't understand them? It's like, what are they going to say to you, and in what language are they going to speak?
I kind of agree with you a little bit, because when I first moved to the UK, I used to get Gerald, who's my husband, if we ever needed to phone up for anything, I'm like, you're going to have to do that because the people on the phone don't understand what I'm saying with certain words, and they will get things mixed up, and there's like a weird conversation going on. So I used to make him do it.
I mean, I don't understand anything you say. I just nod.
It's all podcast.
Like, yeah.
It's just
That's why we're such good friends, because I just go like this. Just nod.
Agree.
Just nod. Yeah, who knows what she's saying.
But then I think at the same time, like, compared to my dad, and I mean, he's a baby boomer, but it's like, he calls for absolutely anything. And I'm like, okay, I understand that calling is important. And for him, anything I want to do with my friends is like, why don't you just call them? I'm like, no.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
But I think there is like, I think with friends in some cases, like, if I want to say, do you want to go out on Saturday? I don't want to go in the middle of your afternoon and impose myself on your time for you to answer. So I'll text you, and then when you've got time, you'll answer.
And what if they say no? That's so awkward on the phone as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so bad. If someone rings you up, do you want to go out Saturday? And you don't really want to go out with them. You're just like, yeah, no. Like, it's really awkward on the phone.
Yeah.
Over text, so you can plan what you're going to say and you can
Oh my
let
God.
them down
Exactly.
easily.
This is like a whole thing.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I'm very confused.
I think it depends, and I think it's good to talk on the phone, especially at work. You need to learn, and I think eventually you will learn. But I understand that with friends, we moved away from that. I almost don't call anyone.
But again,
Yeah, I
it's so
agree.
annoying. I mean, you know, I wake up on a Saturday morning and I'm like, okay, Uzma, so I'm thinking of doing this afternoon. What are you doing? Like, do you want to join me for some of this? And she goes, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so when are you going to know, or what is it dependent on? She says, I'm waiting for Luca to respond to my message. I'm like, oh, okay, so why don't you just call him and ask him if he's going to meet you or not? And she's like, well, he'll respond when he responds. So, and I think, okay, fine, I'll go downstairs, get dressed, have bread, lounge about a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, I'll just wait for her for, another hour or something. Hopefully Luca will respond in an hour. That's a pretty long period of time. I go back upstairs. I'm like, so, Uzma, have you had a response? Are you meeting him? Who are you? What's... Well, then I messaged Junaid and he hasn't responded yet. I'm like, okay, why don't you call Junaid? Well, he's waiting on Adnan to respond to his message, and then Danny will respond to Adnan's message, and then Luca is going to message Frankie and find out what Frankie's doing.
Just
and
start
then
a group chat.
I'm just
Just
kind of
I
like,
hate
Group chats. That's the
Really?
thing.
I love a
Yeah.
group
WhatsApp
chat.
is the
Really?
bane of
I
my
love
life.
a group chat.
Did any of these messages have the blue tick? Junaid, Luca? Because that...
no, it's
We
high
don't use
message.
WhatsApp, so there is no blue tick ever
Yeah.
involved.
I mean,
Yeah,
I turn off my
iMessage.
read
iMessage.
receipts.
Yeah,
So-
I turn mine off
Yeah.
as well.
You see, I mean, it's like they have a
So did
whole
I.
conspiracy thing. You were saying you don't want to talk in case you have to say no, and you can plan for it. And these guys are like using a system where people can't tell if they've read it or not. I mean, are you guys really friends, or is this?
I think there is, like, for example, if I need to organize something and I need to know within the hour, I'll either say, I need to know soon. Or, for example, I'm texting, I don't know, 10 friends because I got an extra ticket. I'll be like, just so you know, I've texted a lot of people, it's a first come, first serve. So if you're thinking about it, don't think too long. And if
You got 5 minutes to respond, or this message will self-destruct.
or if I'm like, oh, should we meet on Saturday? It's like, yeah, okay. And then I might be like, okay, what should we do? And then that waits for too long.
But why are you asking what should we do? Because you're the one that asked them if you want to meet. So shouldn't you say, should we go to the movies, or should you want to go grab something to eat?
It's about the quality time.
Okay.
Just being
But
together.
anyway, it's like,
Eventually.
yeah, if something
it
doesn't
depends
come
on
up.
the person, though, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
like, I think we've all got friends that you can kind of just say once what the plan is, and it'll happen, and you'll meet at a certain time. And then you've got people like Luca and me, where it probably requires a few different messages
Just for you.
and a few different
I'm
days to get everything sort of nailed. And, and
Most
ready.
of my friends, I literally just I text pub, she texts back pub, I say 7, she puts 7, that's it, 4 messages, and I'll meet her at the pub at 7.
Oh my god, can we share some friends? Literally, my friends takes about 3 days of planning.
Oh, we've got some efficient friends, just cinema, yeah, cool, cinema, and that's it.
I mean,
Done.
unless it's like ticketed events, then I'm like, oh, do you want to do this? Yes, cool, booked. Monzo split the bill.
Actually, saying that, going back to the
Happening right now, Claire.
the phobia of using the phone, like with my brother, for example, we call each other like how we text. So I think our average conversation on the phone is like 20 seconds because it's like, can I come downstairs? Yeah, cool. Or see you tonight? Yeah, fine. And
Did you just say, can you come downstairs?
My mum does that. My mum does that.
Upstairs to say, can you come
He's
downstairs?
in the attic, you know.
Can
Well,
you
he
not
was.
just go up and see him?
But like, you know, you've got Netflix ready. You don't want to move. You know, you're comfortable.
Because you don't have to pick up the phone, do you? It's like, hey Siri, like, cool mum. Like, that's it. That's all you got to do.
My younger brother's from your generation, and I've never seen anyone use Siri so well. He uses it for everything.
I use it for everything. Because
Yeah.
I haven't actually got to touch my phone. I can just talk to it.
Yeah,
I have never used Siri.
Haven't you?
Ever. Have you?
No.
that's.
Boy,
Shut
Siri,
up,
I use
Luca.
way
Is that something that's like...
Sometimes I accidentally press a button or something and it comes on and goes rah, rah, rah.
Sorry,
And I'm
what's
like,
available right now?
I start like throwing the phone around. It's saying
There's a weird
I
man in
totally
my
understand
pocket.
that. But my dad uses Google Assistant for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And but the way he uses it is, of course, the way a... I don't know.
Be careful with your choice of words.
like,
He will listen to
Baby
this.
boomer.
a baby boomer would use it. And it's like... So he would take the phone and then bring it to his mouth and then go like, okay, Google. And then it would be like, good places to eat around here. And then Google will like activate. But it's like for like things that I'm like, maybe you can just type it. I feel like it would be quicker. Because like then Google doesn't understand from half the things. Because he says it in Italian and then Google is not as good. And I'm like, this is just so much extra effort. Or like, I don't know, it's just... And he doesn't use it for like texting people or calling people. It's just for like searching on Google.
Maybe he's just
Like-
lonely.
Yeah.
So we have an Alexa at home, and the kids use it way more than my husband and I do. But when we first got it, the very first thing that they asked Alexa to do?
Oh my god, fart.
Fart.
Does
And they
it
said-
do that?
Yeah.
It
Oh my God,
does.
it
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
wow.
great big long fart, and that's what they asked. And I remember Harrison, the eldest one, had woke up in the morning, and he quite often would ask me, "What kind of day is it going to be today? A medium day, a middle day, or a hot day?" And I said, "I think it's going to be a medium day." And he said, "Is it going to rain?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." And he went, "Well, I'll just go and ask Alexa." And he trotted downstairs, went and asked her, and came back upstairs. "It's going to rain today, Mummy."
If I were you, I would just say, why don't you ask Alexa to make you toast tomorrow morning and let's see what happens then.
Ask Alexa to pick up from school.
If you use iMessenger, what do you guys use?
Literally everything. Mainly Snapchat, actually.
Snapchat.
And it's so hard to try and explain to my mum. I Snapchat someone instead of text them. And then she's like, well, why? And I said, I don't know, I just do. It's my first instinct. If I'm going to talk to someone,
I don't really
shout
get
Snapchat.
Snapchat. I only get it for the funny pictures you take of yourself.
All the filters, yeah.
But I
yeah.
don't actually get it for any other purpose. I don't understand how it works.
All of my group chats, all of like any messaging is all on Snapchat. And I have no idea why, because I have to I have to turn my data on to then Snapchat people when I could just text them. But I don't know. That's what I do.
See, I'm not the same. I much rather use iMessage or text, but then a lot of my friends don't. So my two closest friends prefer to use Snapchat, so I'm forced to use that. And then I never had WhatsApp before I came to London, but everyone in London seems to have WhatsApp. And even when I text them, even though it's still a number-based thing, they're like, why are you texting me? Like, WhatsApp me? And I was like, it's exactly the same. It's just easier to reply with this, but... Yeah,
Everything is like internet based now because I checked my O2 give you like a summary of your bill, how many texts you sent. I think I sent like 6 text messages last month, and everything
that's
is
to
like
Vodafone saying stop.
exactly. Everything is like iMessage or WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Even Instagram has become like a main
Slide in
place
the
to-
DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
See, now, can we just go back to that? So when Brooke we worked together for a while, and Brooke used to sit next to me, and I swear half the time I didn't know what she was talking about. And she said to me, "No worries, we're just going to slide into the DMs." Confusion on my face. I'm thinking, I think this is some sort of messaging thing, but I'm not sure what she's talking about. So I told it to Eve the other day.
Actually, my
and Eve's
translation
interpretation-
was quite funny because in my days, DMs were Dr. Martens. So when she said to me, Brooke
That actually makes
said,
sense.
yeah, so when
makes
she
sense,
said
doesn't
that,
it?
said we're going to slide
It
into the
works.
DMs, and I was like, what? Put your shoes on and leave or something? And she went, and then she looked at me like, no, what are you doing? I'm like, DMs, Dr. Martin sliding in, putting them on, leaving. I don't know. Must mean something like that. So I was quite surprised when she told me what it actually means, and it means
Slide into your direct messages on Instagram.
there you go.
Pop up to someone, yeah.
I know you've got that look on your face like, do I need to explain this? But yes, you do.
So we do have a little game,
I love games.
and we thought we'd see how we go with this. So all of those of you who cannot see, I have taken some slang words that would have been popular when Eve and I were your age. And I thought we would see.
You had
if you
slang?
can- We even had electricity and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was no
So-
language. We used to just, make things
Chip on
into
stone.
chip on stone.
So
yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to take one and then read it. Some of them you may know. They may still be relevant.
So we got to guess what it is. It's actually a slang
Yeah,
word as
yeah.
well. Slang is actually a slang word
So-
itself.
Take one of these.
Short
have
and
a go.
language.
See, and the
scared.
actual on the back is the actual description of what it means. But see if you can. You might know some of them. So what have you got?
I've got the bomb.
Well, you need to guess before you
Well-
turn it over.
Well, they already read
I
it,
think
so.
you can still kind of say the bomb.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say it as often, but you can say it.
So what does it mean?
Par excellence, out of this world.
And is that how you would use it in your current generation?
I think it's now
Yeah.
evolved to da bomb.
Da
Yeah.
bomb.
Yeah.
I
like
wouldn't say
jokey
the bomb.
way,
Yeah,
I'll
it
say
is.
it's the bomb.
Yeah.
Dead ass is the bomb.
You have to say it with an accent, and it had to be within a certain context,
Yeah.
and then it'd work.
It has to be with the accent, otherwise it's just...
Doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, random words. Got all that and a bag of chips, which I have no idea. It's like, I guess, all of that plus it's like it's so much that there is even a bag of chips. I don't know.
Do you guys know?
No, I
No.
go along.
I'm the best and then some.
There you
Bag
go.
of chips.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What you got, Talia?
I've got going postal. I don't really know how to start with that one.
It's like going to the post office.
I don't think it's that literal. I went to guess a slight
Going postal.
And going old school, like sending
Even more
instead of an email.
It means if someone loses it. Like if
Going
someone
crazy.
gets really angry and just like
Really?
loses their shit, you're like, well,
Loses the plot.
refers to the
basically.
trend of some postal workers becoming violent.
Yeah.
Discriminatory,
Was
but-
that the trend?
We used to say that, yeah, you've gone postal. Yeah.
We wouldn't. That's not.
So is that like
today.
to us like someone getting Larry?
Yeah.
Like someone,
Yeah.
They're
someone
like
getting
fully
rude.
losing their mind.
A
You
bit
go, wow,
aggy.
they're going
Bit aggy,
postal.
yeah.
Ape shit.
Okay. I got swing.
I love that. You got to say it like this. Swing.
I can just imagine a group of girls doing that on a night out.
No,
girls,
would
no.
not say that. So it's a reference from a film called Wayne's World.
Yes.
I
even
love
heard
the
of the
description.
Do you know
I've
Keanu
seen the
Reeves?
film.
No, it was
Wayne's World wasn't.
It's Mike
no, wasn't
Myers
it Mike Myers?
Oh, Mike Myers.
Mike
yes,
Myers and
sorry,
Dana
sorry,
Carvey,
sorry.
yeah,
Still no
and they played
With the
these-
dog car. Is that-
No,
Wasn't it a van?
read it.
If you see a hot chick, you would say swing while humping midair. I
I
love the midair part. How does
Jump up.
like have you got to jump with it? Swing. Oh God. I'm going to bring that back.
So we do have a couple
See
of
you on
others.
tipping
If anyone
point.
else want to go? So you can have
Let's
that
have a
one.
go.
So I'm going to read my one. My one's
You guys-
what's up?
What's up?
What's up? Do you know where that comes from, though?
Scary movie.
Scream?
What do you think?
Oh no, sorry.
Scream, scary movie. Yeah, you love the Scream. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Is it on the phone?
What's
that an advert?
How about you?
What's up?
Isn't
Yeah,
it
where is it from? Do you know where it's
Budweiser
from?
advert?
I don't know.
Is it?
Oh,
That's
there
Dilly
you
Dilly.
go. You
Thank
got
you.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people think it's from Scary Movie.
Yeah.
From your, but
And then that's when we
actually,
Yeah.
but actually, it is from Budweiser. Yeah, Budweiser.
That's like Dilly
advert.
Dilly now, isn't it? They're trying to bring Dilly Dilly.
So what did they do to make that a thing?
I'll have to make you watch the YouTube video. But anyone who hasn't seen it, go on YouTube, write Budweiser advert, what's up, and you'll see the original where that actually comes from. It doesn't come from Scary Movie. It is way before Scary Movie.
Iconic.
Yes, iconic. Iconic, yeah.
I've got eat my shorts.
I've heard
That's
that.
Simpsons, isn't it? Bart Simpson.
I feel like it would be
Like,
a nice way to say
go
it.
stick it kind of thing.
I
Like,
thought it was
Yeah.
like, yeah. Eat my shit.
Exactly, but you're in school, so you need to say eat my
It's apparently
shit.
the same as "screw you" or "go to hell," used by the cartoon boy Bart Simpson in The Simpsons.
It's not as intimidating an argument, though, is it?
No.
I don't like you. Eat my shoes. So like, just run away after.
Just don't take them off and fling them.
So did like youngsters actually say that then? Is it to like parents or like teachers and stuff?
Who's next?
Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening.
Oh, I used to love this one
So
when I was a
sassy.
kid.
I used to
Proper
actually
sassy
say
one.
this in primary school.
I used to say it to my
Is
mum.
this a Terminator reference or did Terminator come? Because he says that in Terminator, does he not?
No,
Hasta la vista.
yeah, he says I'll be back
My
and
hand
stuff
kind of
like
thinking
that.
that as well.
Does he?
I've never heard of
No,
it.
that's too sassy for the Terminator.
Too sassy.
Imagine, touch my hand.
I feel like if we Googled it, there'd be a reference.
Because my face ain't listening.
Right, what do you got, Brooke?
I've got hottie. Pretty straightforward. See someone hot? They're a hottie. I like that.
I've got your mum.
No,
He actually
your
does.
mum.
Your mum.
Your mum.
Yo, mum.
But we
Is it the
still
same?
used to say that when I was growing up. A lot.
Did you?
So some of these phrases have carried through. Do you ever say snaps?
Snapchat, yeah, I'll send you a snap.
No,
There's
no.
that.
No.
Photos.
So to give someone snaps is when if they say something cool, you'd go, "Oh, awesome!" and give them some.
Oh, it's like
snaps.
a mini celebration, like a little clap.
I think we
Oh.
literally say snap to be sassy.
You're like, oh, snap.
No,
Yes.
Oh, snap. The accent always go there. Oh, snap.
I think they
I've
translate.
I've got psych, but I'm guessing it's like
Oh, yeah.
psych, like when you
Psych.
when you're trying to like trick someone, or it's like a joke, or you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. Cool. I think that's it for those ones.
So when I was doing a bit of research on differences in language between the different generations, I found this actual research paper from the University of New
Like
York.
proper serious and stuff.
Proper serious scientific research. So these guys did some research on generational differences in the use of emotional words. Okay, so basically the conclusion is a very long document, which I actually sadly read all of. In short, their conclusion is, so I'm going to read sections of it. Across generations, there were unique terms used by the silent generation. So silent generation being even before the baby bloomers. Their terms were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, for example, was like a very commonly used
Oh, I still say
term.
that.
Baby boomers used bummer. That was like their thing.
Makes sense.
Bummer. Generation X used rad.
Rad.
Yeah.
I think I might say awesome.
Apparently that was our that
Did
was
you say
our
this in
thing.
an American study?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Millennials used popping.
Oh, I didn't actually use
What's
it.
I mean,
popping?
I feel like
As in
that's also
popping.
an American thing, so maybe we
That's
don't use
popping.
it.
Yeah.
And
Now I can
and
hear
the
it.
digital natives, which is you guys, used hyped.
Oh, yeah.
So that was those were the most commonly used words in this study amongst those generations. And then the one word that all generations unanimously used a lot of, guess what it was?
Sit.
Do you want to take a guess, Luca?
No idea whatsoever.
I would have just said something like cool. I don't know. I think it's going to be swearing. I think that's very cross-generational.
It was pissed.
Oh.
Hey!
It's so insightful.
So pissed off. Oh, and the other one was gross. So apparently those terms were commonly used across all the generations.
Pissed is just such a transverse word, though. It can mean so many things.
It's not
Such a
necessarily
beautiful
slang, is it?
language.
No, this is about
Okay.
emotional words, so
Right.
it's not necessarily slang words, but something to I guess describe like how you an emotion that you might feel. But
So if you were to send a message to someone, how many emojis would you use in that message?
Minimum 4.
Fan.
Minimum 4.
Whoa!
I actually have rules around it, Brooke. Okay.
I mean, is there any words or is it just a series
Sometimes
of
it's
emojis?
just emojis. Sometimes my reply is just some emojis.
I mean, we do that occasionally.
Yeah, but
My
more,
mum
more
uses
as a
emojis a
joke.
lot more than I do.
I'm saying
She really
my mum.
does.
Yeah, I'm
she
seeing a
loves
trend.
them. 3 or 4, and it's like she's just telling me it's dinner.
Bitmoji. My mum loves Bitmoji.
Oh, but I like
think
Bitmoji.
Bitmoji maybe is... Could that be a millennial thing?
What's a bitmoji? Sorry, you need to
It's like
explain.
you sort of create a character like...
That looks like yourself.
You animate
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you create like
An
a whole
avatar.
series of things, but it's 2D.
But you
And
can
then
use
you
it in
can-
AR as well on Snapchat. So if you're using your back-facing camera, you can use like augmented reality, and then it can like sit on your desk or like on
see,
your
my
table.
mum doesn't get to that level. Yeah, I guess that's the idea. But it's like,
There's
I
like
mean, there was a lot of
scenes-
words there that I didn't understand. Back-facing camera, augmented reality. It was just like blah 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 blah.
Digital native.
but it's like you could say like congratulations. You could like your Bitmoji could come out of a, I don't know, a cake and holds a sign that says congratulations. It's like it's just a sticker basically.
wow.
It's a still thing. But she sends it every once in a while.
So I learned that there was an emoji that existed the other day, which I didn't realise existed. That's someone's head exploding.
Oh, I've never known
That
that.
was pretty cool because I was sending a message to someone else saying, this person is so excited, I think their brains are going to blow out their head. And then it just came up with this picture. Oh, excellent. That's the best emoji ever. Boom.
Because they come up in predictive text.
Yeah,
they
did,
did.
yeah.
Emoji, yeah.
Because Apple have the keyboard thing, isn't it now? So as soon as you've wrote like several words, it can change them automatically into like an apple or a roller coaster or a building or something like that, which is pretty cool.
I don't know what text you're sending.
Apple roller coaster.
Building on a roller coaster. Having an apple.
Here's an architect.
But I do the same where like if I want to put the little nerdy face, which is usually how I end my messages, I type in nerd because it's quicker than switching the keyboard. But sometimes I press nerd and then go to press for the emoji, and then I press send, and it's just an automatic thing, and I don't press the emoji. So like the message will end with like nerd, and then I have to send the emoji afterwards because it just doesn't make sense.
It's really funny because on the same keyboard with the iPhones, the word poop will bring up the poo. But if you write shit, obviously it doesn't bring it up, which is really frustrating sometimes because then you have to go back and rewrite the word, and then you can get up the poop icon because I can never find it.
Thank you very much to the poop icon for keeping the poopology name at the forefront.
So you were talking about Netflix earlier, yeah? So there's a stat here that says 71% of Gen Z have a Netflix subscription.
There's all their friends. That's a very big
Yeah, I think
More than any other generation.
Does it count if like your mum pays for it, but it's in your name?
Did you
Does that-
want it?
Obviously, I wanted it, but I didn't want the payments coming out every month.
But maybe also
I think a
this
lot
is
of
like
sharing.
when it gets asked like, do you have a Netflix account? And then you say yes. If it's your mum that's paying, or if you're sharing the one with your friend, you have a Netflix account.
Yeah, it's my name.
So maybe
on it,
Have
so.
access to.
That's where
Yeah.
the 70%
So-
comes from.
How often do you actually say Netflix and chill?
Only as a joke. I don't actually.
Zero.
Yeah, I've said it a few times.
You know what? Whenever someone says Netflix,
But
I
not
have a
for, like-
compulsion to say and chill. I don't
Can't
know
take it
why.
back.
But not for the bad
I have a
reason.
compulsion to
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like it's really. I have to actually go. Hold that in. Don't say that.
Do you know what Netflix and chill like really means?
Like the original.
Yeah.
It's actually a bit of an innuendo.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
It
Netflix
means-
and chill.
Yeah.
Get jiggy with it.
Thank you for translating that. Did you not know?
Did you say
So that means when I said to my friend Jem the other day, when she said, "What are you doing?" and I
Did
said,
you take it really well?
"Netflix and chilling," she was like, "Oh, cool."
I'll leave you to
I
it.
think we're past the stage of taking it seriously as Netflix and chill, because now I feel like you can quite happily say it as a joke, because I would say it as a joke. I'd say it to my friends that are guys. I'm like, go Netflix and chill.
They never
sort
get
of
the
thing.
hint.
Yeah, come on, Luca.
Yeah, it's probably taken on more of a life now, hasn't it? It doesn't actually mean getting jiggy with it anymore.
Yeah, probably.
So there are a couple of others. What have we got here? Nearly 50% of Gen Zers are connected to the internet for 10 hours or more a day.
As in they're using it, or literally connected?
It says connected to the internet.
Because I would say, yeah,
I think it's
Yeah.
15.
No, but then, like
24
so many
hours a
people
day.
at work are people who are on desktops and stuff.
I think
You're
it
on it all the
means.
time.
I think
like,
it means through your mobile
it can't be
devices.
10 hours, right?
Oh, definitely. The only time I lose connection is like through the tunnels on the train. That is it. Yeah.
You're consistently receiving messages.
Yeah,
But even
me
then,
too.
like in the tube, I'm always on Wi-Fi. Like, I'm not losing the opportunity to like Google stuff.
Wi-Fi on the tube.
So
Yeah.
So you're not losing the opportunity to ignore a message that comes through
Exactly.
from Junaid about what you're doing.
Exactly.
Do any of you guys use like the timers on apps where it tells you have to use it for like half an hour or something? Or is that just me?
Like the downtime stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I will stick on this for 10 hours straight.
Because I had like a slight addiction to Instagram. I'm sure we all do. And mine's got like a half an hour timer. Seriously. But like a half an hour timer. So I think 10 hours is quite
Well, but that's why I feel like that's just the time connected. Because you can't, otherwise you'd be on your phone for 10
But
hours.
I think that's because data plans are now, you get unlimited text, whereas before, when I was growing up, it was like, I had 250 megabytes of data, and then it was like about how many texts and calls you can make. But now it's all about you have unlimited text and calls as a standard, because no one really cares about that apparently. Yeah. But it's all you pay for the data, you don't pay for the calls and texts. Yeah. So I think just generally people are now moving that way, and I see older people on their phones a lot more than younger people. Actually, it does make me laugh because I see more people on Candy Crush who are middle-aged than people who I'd expect to see. Yeah.
Excuse me, what is middle-aged to you, by the way?
25.
Excuse me, I'm not middle-aged. Midlife crisis already.
On iPhones, you can actually see how much you're on each app for each day and over a week. Yeah, so over a week, I have averagely been using my phone screen for 4 hours and 43 minutes a day.
Well,
that's not too bad.
So
considering I have a full-time office job.
Exactly. That's the thing, like, you think that you have a job and you're like, shit, that means it's like quite a... Because every time I go to the toilet, I open Instagram at work.
I mean,
it's just
I think
you and poo at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ashamed to say that I did check my Instagram average a couple of days ago because it popped up with a message, like kind of saying, here's some information for you about your usage. So I clicked on it. I'm ashamed to say that I am on it on average 7.5 hours.
Every day?
Every day, yes. And I think the reason for that, though, is I do use it for work.
I was just about to say,
so,
work related.
Mine's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, so, we like post loads of things on our accounts and stuff like that. So it's more like for marketing rather than like go around looking at my friends, posts or whatever,
But that makes sense.
My last 7-day average is 3 hours and 50 minutes for Instagram.
So it's saying here, Gen Z spends...
45 minutes.
Oh my God, Uzma.
You're
old.
I feel like I'm with the Gen Xers now.
Well, there's a stat here saying Gen Z spends an average of 11 hours per week on their phones.
I can see that.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say even more.
So here's a stickler for you. What age do you consider to be old?
Oh,
70.
You're only as old as you feel.
Thanks for saving us all.
120?
There's no wrong age. There's no wrong answer.
I think it changed as I grew up.
I don't know, because I still think, if I think of my dad, who's 60, he just seems really young still. So, but then there's someone who's similar to his age, but he seems like he's 20 years older. So it really does, I don't really...
In your head, though, when you think about when I get old, what is that?
I think about 70.
Yeah.
70 or 82.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you
60.
guys all
60.
are? Okay.
I don't know, I think 60 is like when you are closer to retirement, you're not there yet, and we'll probably never get retirement anyway. But, it's in like, I think it's like, okay, cool, you're done with work, and then your life changes.
Yeah.
And you sort of...
Actually, I had a friend who said, yeah, but as soon as you hit 40, your life's over. So, he thinks 40
Who is
years
this
old
friend?
is...
Where does he live? What's his address?
I think it's on perspective as well, though. So obviously, like, I'm 19 at the moment, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be 20 soon. 20, I'm not a teenager, I'm well old. But then when I turn 20, I'm like, I'm going to be 30 in 10 years. That's well old. And I think I think it's about perspective, and you always just think older than you are. You're like, I don't want to grow up. I don't want to get older yet. I'm not ready.
Yeah. I think when I was young, I thought 50 was old. When I was sort of 18, 19, in my head, when I thought about like my old age, I was like, 50. That's when I'm going to be old, And I was fine turning 20, didn't feel a thing. But for some reason... during my 20s, I never considered that at some point I would become older than anything in the 20s region. I thought that I was just going to be in my 20s for a really long time. So 30 crept up on me really fast. I was like, I'm in my 20s. I'm in my 20s. And I'm doing great for my 20s. And I was like, I'm 30. 30? How did this happen? So I did have a bit of a midlife crisis when I turned 30. I was like terribly upset about it. I was actually quite depressed about it. I thought, what the hell? How can I be 30? So clearly in some part of my head, I thought even 30 was kind of old.
I also think 30 is quite a big deal, though. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I always felt like 30 is a big moment. And maybe it's because, like, you sort of stop being a teenager and move into adulthood
I guess
fully.
you hear a lot, like, people are like, oh, yeah, but he was in his 20s, so it doesn't matter. Or she was in her 20s, like, you know, I think maybe they're talking about more early to mid, but it kind of gets generalised. And then I think by the time you hit 30, it's like, no one says, yeah, but they're in their 30s, you know, they're just having a doss about. Like, you don't really hear
There's
that.
certain
Maybe it is that.
milestones
Life
you wanna-
sort of almost becomes serious, doesn't it? When you
Yeah, exactly.
You
Like,
expect yourself to be in a more
dog,
serious position. Yeah,
buy a
like have a
house,
job and
that
have
sort
a
of
house
thing.
and things.
don't put those pressures on yourself. Though.
Yeah.
When I was
Do get a job though. Do
Yeah.
get a job.
I mean, you should be doing that in your 20s.
Yeah, have a job.
You're 19 and work at Google, so I feel like you're better sorted.
So when I was 19, same age as Brooke, I wrote a letter to myself to open when I was 30.
Oh, I remember you
So
saying
I
that. It's
implore you all
lovely.
to do it. It was really interesting. So that was when I was living in New Zealand. I wrote it. So my mum looked after it for me, and I'd forgotten about it. And she sent me my birthday card when I turned 30, and in there was this little envelope with Claire, do not open until you're 30, smiley face.
4 emojis.
Yeah, handwritten emojis. That was and I'd completely and utterly forgotten about it, and she sent it over in my birthday card, and it was weird because I wrote it to myself as though I was writing it to another person, and it was quite weird reading it back, of sort of all the things that I hoped to have achieved and done by then, and what I was thinking and feeling at the time. It was pretty cool. So I implore you all to do that.
And did you kind of think, oh, this is quite good, or did you think, what the hell was I thinking?
Both. I thought both. I was like, oh, so naive.
Did it feel like a big distance between...
Massive difference, absolutely huge. Yeah, I was thinking, wow, I don't even remember feeling that way. So it was really weird. Yeah,
Because I would have thought it'd bring it back to you.
Did.
Like a level
it
of
did a little
nostalgia or
bit.
something.
Yeah.
But the nostalgia that came back was more sort of sugar-coated nostalgia and like, oh, lovely. So I definitely implore you all to do that. It was a lot of fun. And even we should do it.
Yeah, I'll do it for my 30th birthday.
Yeah. So when Brooke and I were working together, we sit next to each other. It was quite funny, and we were laughing about age and everything. And she was telling me how old she was, and I went, "I'm sorry, you're how old?" And she said, "Oh, at the time you were 18." And I went, "Oh my God,
I'm hyperventilating.
I could be your mother." And she's looking at me going, "No, you couldn't." And I'm like, yeah, I could. I'm old enough to be your mom. So that was weird for me.
So I called her mum from there on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work mom.
My work mum.
I say that to these guys sometimes. I'm like, technically, I am old enough to be your mother. And it is a weird thing, isn't it? You're like, oh, God, that's a bit strange. But from my 30s to my 40s, I didn't have the same midlife crisis, weirdly. Actually, was really looking forward to turning 40. I'm quite happy to be 40. I don't feel anything about it, really.
You're already 40, you don't look like
But it's so some of my siblings, well, one of my brothers and some of my friends have just turned 30, 29, 31. So they're all around that age and they're all really worried about it. But I keep saying to them to not be worried about it, because I feel like there's a huge pressure now that you have to stay young, you have to stay living life in a certain way at a certain age, and that you can't like grow old, because grow old generally means bad things and stuff. But I think we should start getting out of that habit. I think society should definitely break free from that, because I think age is good and we should look forward to growing older, and I think it's only come with more experience, more wisdom, and it's inevitable. Like, what's the point in trying to challenge time? Like,
I'll call you when you're 30.
I'm gonna write a letter to myself and see how I feel in 5 years.
Well done.
I think my parents are going back in time. So obviously last year, turned 18, I could start going clubbing with my friends and going out to the pubs and everything. And then it was my dad's birthday a few months ago, so we went out for dinner. And then he was like, you know what? I really want to go to that club that me and your mum always used to go to. So I was like, well, that's the club that I go to now. And I was like, no. Like, and half an hour later, he'd booked a cab and I was there clubbing with my parents.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
actually become a regular thing.
Were they on the tables?
Oh, yeah. I'm not joking, yeah. They absolutely love it. So it's almost like they're going back and they're like, yeah, the place hasn't changed at all. It's
Well,
just
do
like
you
we
know-
used to, and they're just enjoying their time
Do
again.
you know what it is though? It's because you're a little bit older now. You're more self-sufficient. So if I've been out clubbing, I've got a 3-year-old. And that ain't getting up in the morning at 6 a.m.
So we'll
with
get
a
up all
3-year-old,
hungover
it's not
as a
fun.
family. So.
Yeah, so you guys can do that all together, and you're self-sufficient, and you can get up and you can cook breakfast. Whereas,
I think that's so true because the youngest person in my family is 20 now, and my parents have started to go on kind of like dates and kind of like one nights away, and it might not even be very far, but it's kind of cute and it's kind of nice that they're taking that.
but still stood
back.
gross at the same time.
Yeah, it's super weird, but like I think like they can afford to do that now because we're all we're all doing our own thing.
Because they've
We can-
spent the most of their majority of their adult lives looking after us as we grow up, and then we're always focused on ourselves. Like, yeah, I got this job, I got my first car, and everything's all about me. And then you actually forget that like, my parents have like almost put their lives on hold to care for me now that I'm old enough, and they're going out doing whatever they want. I'm like, hang on, I'm the star of the show. Like, what are you guys doing?
But I think your enthusiasm would bring it back to them as well, especially like now they're able to feed into it as well because you're
Yeah.
older. But the fact that you're going through it and you're enthusiastic about it, they're like, yeah.
And then they're just
why
enthusiastic.
can't we do that
so-
as well? Yeah.
And now we all just do it together. Like, we all go clubbing and
Family
everything
bonding.
together. It's great.
You said like a really interesting point of how like their life is on hold, and I want to know because you've got children. Do you feel like your life is on hold, or do you feel like this is where you should be, and that your life is still continuing as normal?
My life is definitely not on hold, and when we had the kids, my husband and I made a conscious decision that they would have to fit into what we are doing and how we are going to run ourselves and how we're going to run our lives. So my husband, he works from home, so he does a lot of the school runs, and I come out to Canary Wharf every day and I work. So I'm the one that sort of leaves the house every day. and
Teach us,
does all
part the
that.
wisdom,
Yeah.
so we
I
don't
think
put our lives on hold.
Because I don't want to put my life
I don't
on
want to
hold.
go
No.
home.
And you shouldn't have to. But when you have children, they have to fit into what you're doing and your lifestyle. Yeah, there are certain things that you can't do a lot of, like the nightclubbing and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to hang out with your friends, go to a family, pub that you can go to, and the kids can all play and stuff. So you're still not going to miss out on having that beer and a catch up with your mates.
But interestingly, actually, Claire says, maybe not the clubbing and whatever, but actually she has not missed a single clubbing session we have had in the last 3 years. So to be honest with you, I mean, Claire and Gerald are quite unusual out of the couples that I know in terms of they have found a way of making this work and making it work really well, but it is like a team effort, so both of them are fully in the team and supporting each other. So they both have, Gerald has his rugby club things going on, so I'm sure Claire helps out with the kids when he's doing his thing with his mates, and Claire has her girls' nights out with us, and he takes care of the kids, and then they have some time alone, and some of their friends take care of the kids, and they go off and do things as a couple. So I am sure, I don't know, but I'm sure that it takes a lot of organising to ensure that actually happens regularly, so that you don't just fall into this, like, we're with the kids, just, sitting around, not doing anything.
I mean, 'cause I love them so much. They do wind me up.
When they've got both fingers up their nose.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah, no, I mean, they can
Alexa.
push you to the extreme. That is without a doubt. And you definitely have to make sure that you are working in a business that allows flexible working, that allows all of those sorts of freedoms and things. Otherwise, you can't have your life and you can't go off and do those things that you need to do.
Do you think business has changed? As in, like, I mean, I don't know if that is, like, more to do with generations, but I feel like flexible working and all the idea that comes with mobile working is something that is changing within generations.
I think it's getting better, but it's still not as good as it could be. And I think that goes for all of us. Like we all need that flexibility, and we all need remote working. Some of the people in the offices that you work with, they like to be in the office, and working from home doesn't work for them. But I think if a business can offer full range of flexible options for everybody, no matter how you work and how you do that, then that's a good way to move forward.
I think in that in that particular respect, it comes from the top down, though. You know, all the way from government. I'm talking about. So you know, there's lots of systems set up in other countries. We've discussed Netherlands before, and all sorts of other countries where it also allows business owners certain opportunities to provide those things. So talking as a business owner, sometimes it's difficult to provide those kinds of things to your employees if you yourself are not supported, you know, in any way to ensure that. So unless you are a huge company like perhaps Google, you know, with unlimited volumes of cash that can afford to make certain things happen for their employees, it is quite hard for smaller independent businesses, for which there is a large, you know, amount of the population working for those kinds of businesses. But here, the system, the legislation, nothing is really set up to support anyone in doing these kinds of things. So it's down to your own company's ability to, you know, to be able to do it, and that's, you know, sometimes difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring your dog into our building, so
But
that's cute.
I do
love
think
that.
generally the biggest thing at the moment is caring about your employees. And actually it's quite interesting that the smaller businesses, there are more restrictions. But I do think if the company can, they realise actually when you do invest in your employees, you're going to get things back, which is why Google is quite well known. I mean, they're more well known for their culture and stuff. So I think it definitely is changing for the better.
Do you think that generations are pushing it, or is it a general thing? Like, for example, might ask for flexible hours because you have kids, or we might ask for flexible hours because we're going to go party at...
I think it's our generation.
I don't know, it's like...
I think it's actually our generation that pushed
agree.
it, because our generation is the one that wanted work-life balance.
Yeah.
That, you know, that kind of fit into where we were. So I think we're the ones that possibly started that, you know, and now you guys are going to hopefully make it happen.
But no, they're just being dramatic.
Snowflakes, isn't it? Yeah. Snowflakes, yeah. That must be a pretty grating term.
But going back to your parents and you and their age, and I think the older you get, the closer the gap between your parents and yourself gets. So it's, you start, you know, you go through this phase where obviously as kids you love your parents, then you become a teenager, you hate your parents, and then you become a bit older, you don't hate them, but they're a bit annoying, and then, you know, you become a little bit older, they continue to be annoying, and then the older you get, suddenly your parents become like your friends.
Yeah.
You actually look forward to spending time with them. You want
Clubbing
to do
with them,
things with them.
yeah.
You want to go clubbing. You want to take them out for breakfast. The dynamic just completely changes.
I think you get to an
becomes a
age where you
different
can
thing.
finally fully appreciate what they do for you. I mean, like, yeah, my parents, my absolute best friends. If anytime I have a problems, Mum, and I don't think that will ever change. I'm on the phone to her 3 times a day. Like, she rings me on my lunch break and everything, talks to her on my way home. Yeah, absolutely my best friends. I think it is, you can fully appreciate what they do for you when you get to a point.
So on that lovely note, thank you all for coming today and joining us. The young people, the younger people, and the old person in the room. Obviously not me, but you know.
Rock on.
And the tiny people in the corner over there. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
And please join us again next Monday for another episode of Poopology.
Thank you.
There are a few more, but
Oh my god. I think you should say that.
Yeah,
one.
we need that one. We need that
do
one.
you know that one?
Yeah. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a gun. That song.
Yeah.
There you go. So I'm starting my music career on this podcast.
I think that was it.
Sup, B? Everyone calls each other B. Yeah, yeah.
Did you say that one?
Get jiggy.
Get
Only
jiggy
when
with
you're
it.
like taking the mic. So you get
The old
get
old
jiggy.
slang.